Well made, beautiful.
And welcome to another episode of the GTHub podcast. And we have a full house today with many things to discuss. But before we begin, first we have to introduce the usual cast of characters here, and that would include myself, and also Rob.
Hi.
And of course, the smartest one of the bunch, which is, of course,
I think that's
Pigeon.
Hello, everyone.
Well, I mean, you are the person with the degree in aerodynamics and aero engineering, so I mean that's only fair.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say it's not exactly that difficult to be smarter than me, in fairness.
Well, this is true. We know this. But before we neglect anything, we will go straight into the biggest event, rather, not news, which was the, well, of course, the madness that was the America's Tire 250 from what is now known as WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, but will forever be Mazda Raceway in our hearts.
Always Mazda.
Always Mazda Raceway in our hearts. And of course, well, where do we begin, really? Well, with the start line madness. Well, actually, I hate to say start line, really, because they didn't even make it to the line. They made it like 3/4 of the way past turn 11 before they managed to crash. So
yeah, that was not the start I think everyone was hoping.
I think that's probably a safe assumption.
Yeah.
Wasn't the cleanest start I've ever seen.
No, it was a little bit messy, but no, it was a fair old impact as well, actually. When as I think, first of all, we had the Action Express Cadillac of João Barbosa and Felipe Albuquerque, and they were tagged by one of the Global Spec LMP2 cars. Was it the Gainsco car?
The whole thing was set up by the Red Dragon. Yeah.
Yeah, of presumably Goikberg, because he usually starts that.
At the wheel was, I believe, I think it was Goikberg at the time. It was either that, no, because it wasn't Steven Simpson, so yeah, it would have been Goikberg.
And then, with the Cadillac effectively being fired broadside across the circuit, I think, or at least going side on with everyone else coming towards it, there were unfortunately going to be drivers with nowhere else to go, and one of them was one of the Chip Ganassi Racing Fords, which am I right in thinking was the 66?
The 99 was the one who started it. It was actually, I just looked it up. It was Misha Goikberg who was in the 99, but it was him who started the crash, and the number 5 Cadillac was broadside across the track, which ended up causing the 911, the number 911 Porsche to run into the 5 because it had nowhere to go. And the 66 was hit by, I think, the 5, or I can't remember who hit the 5, but other than the 911.
66.
It must have been the 66 who hit them.
Yeah, because there was
flying and nearly took out the 22 at the same corner, or rather.
And that, of course, inevitably brought out a full course yellow.
Before the race had even started,
Yep, as there were very large chunks of Ford that had to be removed as well, including an entire wheel.
I think that might be a bit of an understatement, considering there was a wheel laying to the right side of the track.
And there was even, in fact, I don't think the Action so the Mustang sampling car actually even was classified as having taken the start of the race as well. So they technically racked up a did not start.
Yeah, they were eliminated right at the start. And act on that point, it first not finished express guys in the modern era of IMSA. They had never had a did not finish apparently.
Wow.
So that was very much history in the making that they weren't looking forward to having. But yeah, that's something that was lodged in the history books there. And as a result of the non-start for the number 5, they went from second in the championship to 4th. No, was it 4th or 6th? I think they tumbled to 6th.
But I think it's maybe the core car in second now, I think.
Yeah, they move up to second only for 9. But that's jumping ahead slightly. Well, not even slightly, a bit. A whole lot of it is jumping ahead, really.
Well, because actually the core car was also starting from the same row of the grid as the 22, which you mentioned earlier, because both cars had elected to change their starting drivers as well.
We had the 22 change their starting drivers. The
core usually do that as well, I think. So they usually have Colin Brown try and set a blisteringly fast lap time, and then have John Bennett do the race start.
Well, Colin Braun started the race today. I mean, not today.
Did he?
Yeah, he started.
But he also finished the race.
Well, that's probably because he. Well, no, he didn't finish. Colin Braun finished the race.
Yeah,
so it would have been John Bennett who started, I would have thought.
Yeah, John Bennett started.
Which was actually a pretty smart move, in fairness, given that he was just burning his minimum drive time while just touring around behind the safety car, which was
you
smart.
Say that, considering that the initial crash that we were talking about happened before the race had even started, and that burned about 15 minutes under caution. And then, yeah, that whole cleanup took 15 minutes, first caution.
Wow.
And then upon the race trying to actually go green again, there was a second full course yellow of the day, which came out immediately after the GTD field decided, we would like to repeat what the prototypes had to go at earlier. So,
and the GTLM drivers in the middle thinking, "Oh, for God's sake, guys, seriously, like, can we race?"
Well, actually, they were clear of the mess that happened in GTD, because apparently the Lexuses decided to run into each other, and that involved turning around the number 96 Turner BMW, and that took out the front end of the number 93 Meyer Shank Acura. So that retired the 93 on the spot, really.
Crucially, though, the car not fighting for the class championship.
No.
It was the sister
Luckily,
car
the
of
86 was ahead of all that going on behind them. But as a result of that came out with a second full course caution of the day. And amazingly, the first 35 minutes of the race were spent under full course yellow.
Apart from maybe I think 90 seconds in between.
Well, the race hadn't even started then, so yeah, that doesn't even count. But the first 35 minutes of the race were under full course yellow. And actually even continued while they were under full course yellow, because some teams took advantage of this yellow to come into the pits, and a bit of a tussle was happening on track between the number 2 Tequila Petroni SM Nissan and once again the Red Dragon Orca.
It wasn't Goikberg's finest hour. Let's put it that way.
A very busy day of contact with the Red Dragon car, but they were arguing over track position coming out of the pits, and they were actually hitting each other under yellow or under safety car conditions. So that was a very odd thing. No one was penalized as a result of that, but that happened. And also, the madness continued to happen as the aforementioned number 54 stopped at pit lane entry for 40 seconds. Under what Colin Braun would say was an electrical fault, but really was just them gaming out the drive time for John Bennett, is what that was.
It was a good idea.
They got away with it, so it was a good idea, but very dodgy, if you ask me, that they could get away with just going, well, we'll just stop for this time so we could get enough drive time for them.
I think there was a Grand Prix at Spa, which I read about in like the 1930s or something, where one of the teams was actually so far ahead of everyone else they actually pitted for a spot of luncheon in the pit lane.
Right.
This does seem awfully similar.
Well, it was very odd because considering we're like, oh, he has a problem. Oh, he got it going again. Oh, he stopped again. Oh, look, he's conveniently stopped right in front of the commitment line to go into the pit lane. I wonder why that is.
Oh, you've got to know how to play the game with these things, so to speak.
I suspect next year's rulebook's going to be quite heavy with rules that were written to prevent them from doing the same thing again.
Oh dear, I can just picture there's not going to be another State of the Series address now. We've already had that, but
yeah, well, there's going to be some rule clarifications come Daytona and Petit Le Mans, I think. Because that's a bit interesting that you could stop on track and not be kind of penalized for something that is clearly gaming the system there. But yeah, they got away with that somehow, and they kept going, which allowed them to change drivers from John Bennett to Colin Braun.
Speedy boy.
And as a result of that, they actually timed it perfectly to stay on the overall lead lap with enough in hand, because they came out right as it was about to go green, but they were about halfway behind the leaders as the green fell. But they were actually incredibly lucky again, because only a couple laps later than that, with 2 hours on the clock remaining, the leading number 10 Cadillac for Wayne Taylor Racing had a bit of an issue.
Yeah, that one did look rather dead stick indeed on track.
Well, I say a bit of an issue. It was, the gearbox completely failed on them.
Yes, it was rather terminal issue, I think.
Rather terminal when the side of the gearbox housing has a hole in it. Yeah.
It says to me a gear may have gone through the side of the gearbox housing.
But no, they ran out of gears going up the Rahal Straight and stopped on track, which brought out the third full course yellow of the day.
One of those days.
Well, when it rains, it pours for them. Still windless, and it appears they might just end up finishing the season without a win. This coming off the season where they had 7 in a row.
Yes.
But as a result of the caution for the number 10, the entire GTLM field came in to make their stops. Very luckily timed that those were, and they took advantage of that. And then, of course, this being just one of those days for IMSA, I suppose, Pipo Derani spun on the restart after, I guess you can almost assume which car I'm going to say was involved in this.
Oh, was it the... Oh, let me think. Was it the... Was it the 20? Was it the no? It can't be. Was it the 99 by any chance?
Yes, it would be the Red Dragon.
Oh yes, I'll take it. Goikberg was still actually behind the wheel at that point.
I have no idea who was at the wheel of that car at that point, but Pipo Derani spun after diving to the inside of the Red Dragon at the Andretti hairpin, and spun it around, did a very nice burnout to get going again, and we were treated some very lovely pictures of him slicing through the GT cars. But yeah, that was the excitement there. And just because that wasn't dramatic enough after this restart, the second and sole remaining Ford that was on track, this being the championship contending number 67 of Ryan Briscoe and Richard Westbrook.
Westy?
Was it Richard? Yes, Ryan Briscoe and Richard Westbrook. They had a go at the number 4 Corvette, and well, they broke his right front steering arm. So yeah, that put their day to an end and capped off a rather dismal affair for the Ford Chip Ganassi Racing guys. Actually, but on that front though, they somehow found enough spare parts. They raided the entire Ford Performance truck, I think, and emptied it of all of the spare parts possible. And not only rebuilt the 67, but they rebuilt the 66 as well. So
just so they could get ahead of the 911 Porsche, I think, in the standings.
Yeah, they somehow Lazarus resurrected the 66, and it ran 2 laps to finish ahead of the 911 Porsche. So that got them crucial points for that one. But the busiest guys of all day long were the Chip Ganassi crew rebuilding both cars. Somehow both of them came back. They would both retire, so it wasn't in the end a double DNF for Ford, but they gained enough points as they could scrounge together out of that one. So but I don't know how that worked out, but they were just the busiest mechanics.
Indeed.
So yeah, the Ford guys had a fun day rebuilding everything and retiring. Very, very attrition heavy race this was somehow. Not the last car that would be retired either. So
no,
yeah.
Far from it.
We had, as a result, thankfully we had some clear race running though, after everyone decided to finally, after everyone decided, maybe there's no point banging wheels with each other for, the entirety of the 2 hours and 40 minutes we have on track. So sanity finally prevailed, and some good racing broke out, minus contact. So yes, after the third full course caution, thanks to the number 10, we had some strategy play out with the GTLM cars, like I mentioned, and this also allowed strategies to finally play out where you saw cars that were at the front go to the back, and cars that were at the back go to the front. True endurance racing happening at this point. And the racing really wasn't really at the front of the field in the prototypes at this point of the race. But the GT cars did not disappoint. In the shape of the GTD class battles.
That was tasty.
However, this was as a result of the final 4-course yellow that came out, thanks to the number 96 BMW stopping out on, which was a hot spot for the day of dead cars, the Rahal Straight. And that was a result of a transmission cooler failure, I believe is what the team had ended up saying from their PR. So that put an end to the 96's day. And as a result of that full course yellow, Catherine Legg made a strategy call that was... She had all the luck in the world this weekend, because she just somehow managed to pit right when the full course yellow came out. So she was able to come in and make the penultimate stop of the day for the number 86 crew. And that kept them in the hunt at the front of the GTD field. This also allowed Harry Ticknell, and this is not the last time we're going to mention Harry Ticknell or the number 55, to allow them to go to the front of the field because they had already made their stop prior to the caution. So they had track position on their side. And that allowed them to have a bit of a comfortable lead for a while everyone else kind of sorted out their strategies and whatnot. But that had allowed the GTLM guys to kind of have a fuel mileage battle amongst themselves, really, which was probably the most tamest of all the classes of the day, which isn't what you get to say most of the time. But somehow the BMWs and the Porsches, I don't know how they did this, they found some sort of magical fuel tank and were running it for the last stint. Care to guess how long they ran on their final stint of fuel?
So a normal fuel stint would be, I'd say, 45 to 50 minutes. I say maybe 56 and a half minutes.
Try more.
An hour and 5.
Ooh, you're closer, but still wrong.
Hour and 10.
It was an hour and 17 minutes. On the final stint of fuel.
That's half the race.
It's almost like Westy a couple of years back in the Ford GT when he had what I think IMSA Radio described as the pink fluffy bunny rabbit.
Well, I was just about to say that. Yeah, it seems BMW Motorsport stole Westy's pink fuzzy pink fuzzy bunny slippers. There we go. Wow, that did not work. And gave them to Connor DeFilippi because he went that long on his final stint on fuel. So, but he wasn't actually the only one either. The 912 Porsche did the same thing. They both went 54 laps in their final stint on fuel. And this was keeping in mind the fact that they stopped with both of the Corvettes, but the Corvettes had to stop 20 laps after they did for a splash of fuel because they couldn't make it. And even the 24 BMW had to make a stop as well. So the 25 was just magical on fuel.
That, or they had a really good person map the engine.
It's called fuel saving from the beginning of the day, really. So what that is.
Yeah, that was quite something.
That was just one of the drives of the race because there was quite a bit. But yeah, Connor DeFilippi went that long on his last stint to bring a back-to-back win for himself and Alexander Sims, and also BMW Team RLL, to get the second win for the M8 GTE in its debut season. And on the podium, rounding out the podium after the number 912 Porsche for Earl Bamber and Lawrence Vanthor was the championship contending number 3 Corvette for Oliver Gavin and Jan Magnussen, who, leaving Laguna Seca, have a 9-point lead over their nearest rivals, and as a result, they only have to finish 5th or higher at Road Atlanta to claim the GTLM title. So,
and am I right in thinking that Gavin and Magnussen haven't actually won a race all year?
Yes, this is true. Ford have won 4 races this season, and both of their cars aren't even in with a shot of the title any longer.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, this is Keke Rosberg in 1982 all over again.
Well, I mean, there is a reason why Corvette has won almost 110 races in IMSA, so yeah. And God knows how many titles. So
God knows how many wins at Le Mans.
A handful, yeah. There's a reason why they win all the time. So they know what they're doing. Yes. But yeah, they only need to finish 5th in class or higher to win the GTLM title for Oliver Gavin and Magnussen. So that's a championship that's pretty much, I think we can safely confirm, has been sewn up already, heading into Petit Le Mans in about 3 weeks' time. So that's that one done. However, the racing wasn't done from here on in. GTLM, it was pretty much done and dusted at this point, because the first 2 had to save fuel. But what was looking like a surefire win, finally, for Mazda in the DPI category and in the prototype category, and also at what used to be Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca.
Where's the soundboard when you need it? For crying
was
out
looking
loud.
like a surefire win with no one challenging them whatsoever.
Hello, darkness,
and only
my old
33
friend.
minutes left on the clock for this race. Mazda, actually, not even Mazda's fault. Actually, not even their fault. It was Harry Ticknell's fault that threw away this win. Harry Ticknell, with no pressure on him whatsoever, spun away the lead in turn 5 after trying to make an inside pass on Gustavo Jacquemin.
Yak attack!
For once, Gustavo Jacquemin did nothing wrong. Yeah, that's a statement you'll never hear again. But for once, he did something that wasn't his fault.
What? Oh, crikey, that's the first time I've ever heard those words in the same order in the same sentence. Bloody hell, what's happening with the world these days?
Well, there you go. That's probably the only time you'll hear that. But yeah, through no fault of his own, was minding his own business, and a 55 Mazda came barreling into turn 5 on the inside and just spun the lead away, which dropped him to, I believe, what was at the time 6th place from 1st, and he had a lead of about, I think, 15 or so seconds at that time. Before he spun it all away.
Oh dear.
With that elevated the number 22 Tequila Patroni SM Nissan of Pipo Durrani and Johannes van Overbeek to the lead, who would just go on to cruise from there on in and won the race overall. So they claimed their second win of the season, to go with their Sebring win. And actually, extended Ligier's win record there at Laguna Seca to be 3 in a row.
After last year for Visit Florida Racing and the year before,
and the year before that, Michael Schenk. Yep. So actually 3 generations of different car, because you had the JSP2 for Michael Schenk, and then you had the P217 for Daytona, and then this year we have the Nissan DPI. So yeah. Happy stomping grounds for Onrock Automotive there in the Central Coast of California. But that was how the race ended up sorting out. However, the overall podium still was not sorted by the time we came with 3 minutes left to go.
Ooh.
Would it be surprised to tell you that there was yet again lap traffic that came into play on this part?
No, because Laguna Seca's a relatively short circuit compared to some of the others we visit.
Would I also surprise any of you by saying that the lapped car in question possibly was of questionable talent? Yeah.
Questionable talent. I was going to say Jacquemin or Cooper McNeil. No, that's Cooper McNeil.
It was Cooper McNeil's car, yes. However,
Oh,
ironically,
God's
the
sake.
WeatherTech Ferrari at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca came into play for the overall podium.
Yes, because I think Gunnar Jeanette was thankfully installed behind the wheel at that point.
Well, you say that, but he still got on the way.
Yeah, WeatherTech Ferrari doing WeatherTech Ferrari tings.
Yes, it came into play with 3 minutes left to run in the race, and Ricky Taylor broke his right rear suspension on the while trying to pass the 63 Scuderia Corsa Ferrari. So that put an end to that podium run for the Acuras, and that elevated the number 6 into podium position. Because at this point, of course, the the 22, like I said, it ran away and hid, and that allowed the 54 Core Autosports Oracle 7 to have a nice cushy second place overall with Colin Braun and John Bennett. So this incident, which somehow was almost poetic, because throughout the day, the Team Penske Acuras just decided to hit each other for some reason. I don't. They had a magnet on each other. They just could not. Man. They could not be separated. Honestly, I don't know what happened, but
negative somehow, chill. That's what happened.
Somehow JPM didn't get the memo and decided to race his teammate like he was someone else.
No. JPM thought he was actually back in a NASCAR.
Oh, well, that would explain why he kept hitting the teammate then.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know what happened there, but they decided to get into a grudge match of teammates and just kind of run into each other for a couple of laps. And that the right rear suspension was done for Ricky Taylor on the 63, and that allowed finally JPM to get the podium position and to finally just cool himself down and just, bring it home. Don't throw it away. But that allowed the number 6 Acura Team Penske ARX-05 for Dane Cameron and JPM to have the final overall podium position. And that settled the prototype positions pretty much squared away there. The real drama for the final 30 minutes of the race, other than the sporadic action that happened with the prototype cars deciding to just throw things away at the last minutes, we had 29 minutes left to run in the race. The deciding move wasn't even on, it was partially on track and partially off track. The deciding factor for the GTD win came when the number 86 NSR Acura came in for its final stop for fresh tires and a full tank of fuel, which dropped it from the class lead with Alvaro Perrin at the wheel to 4th with 29 minutes left to run in the race. And it seemed that they would be losing points to their championship rivals in the shape of the number 48 Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini. However, they had the freshest tires in the field, and they had a car that had pace with it. So what do you think was going to happen from this point on?
Fresh tires, good pace. They don't go in forwards, they go backwards.
No, that's not what happened at all, actually. Oh. Yes, they surprisingly went forwards. Well, actually, not even surprisingly. It was to be expected, really. They went forwards with fresh tires, thanks, of course, to the gambling crew at the Park Place Motorsports pit box, where they decided to leave out Jörg Bergmeister on old tires and for to save fuel. And that actually semi-worked, but it held up the GTD guys in front of the 86. So that allowed them to catch up with a handful of minutes and laps left to run.
I was going to say, it's Jörg Bergmeister and Laguna Seca combinate and a Porsche. That combination works well together, just as long as there's no Corvettes nearby coming out the final turn on the last lap.
Well, funny you say that, actually.
God.
No, actually, that didn't happen. Jörg Bergmeister is I think he's tied with Patrick Long for the most wins at Laguna Seca, with 4 or 5, I think.
Oh, wow.
Those two had a run of success together when they were at the Lizards. More on the Lizards later, actually, because there's a bit of a news item with them. Yes, get very excited.
Man's getting psyched.
But Alvaro Perrins, with his fresh tires, drove his way back up to the top 3 in GTD and managed to make a very stable inside move at the final corner to get by Brian Sullers, and then set his sights on Jerome Bleekmolen and the Andretti hairpin and got by him. And, of course, as I had mentioned, Jörg Bergmeister was on old tires and he was saving fuel, so he was pretty much no match for Alvaro Perrins' speed. And also gave way to the number 86 Acura at the Andretti hairpin with 5 minutes left to go. And that elevated the Meyer-Shank car to the lead and to the GTD win. And as it should be, that they cruised very, very nonchalantly to the win there with all the grip in the world compared to the other three who were on dead tires pretty much.
Running on the canvas.
Well, not quite that dead, but they were getting
dead.
there. Yeah.
Note to self: if car tires are running on canvas, change them.
I think you might
probably
be a
not
bit
legal.
Yeah, I think you might be in a bit of trouble there if that's how your tires are. But yeah, the rest of the top three had a bit of tire issues, so that allowed the 86 to win, as I said. So that elevated the 86 Meyer-Shank Racing with Kira Bagajanian Acura NSX GT3 to the GTD class win for Catherine Legge and Alvaro Parent. So both MSR and Catherine Legge claimed their second win of the season. And however, this was Alvaro Parent's first ever IMSA win. So that was an achievement for them. Also, it was Catherine Legge's first pole in IMSA, if you can believe that or not.
I think it was like her first pole position since she was racing in Formula Renault UK against some kid called Lewis Hamilton.
Really?
I was going to say, who is he? I've never actually heard of him. Some stooge, clearly.
Yeah, this guy. He'll never amount to anything. That Lewis guy.
No, he'll probably end up designing clothes or something.
Pretty much, yeah.
Bit too real there, Rob.
Yeah.
Bit too real.
Yeah. No, that's just a bit too much there, Rob.
Oh.
Yeah, but that allowed Catherine Legge to have her first pole in IMSA and her teammate's first win ever in IMSA. So this is a nice weekend for the Meyer-Shank Racing guys. And it was also a track record for her as well, because her qualifying time was a new GTD track record, as was the overall time for, like I said, the pole-sitting Wayne Taylor racing car for Ricky Taylor. Or no, not Ricky Taylor, Jordan Taylor, rather. Wrong Taylor. But the overall podium was the number 22 Tequila Pachoni SM Nissan Onroque DPI of Johannes Van Overbeek and Pete Buzzarani. Second was very lucky boys for the 54 Corrado Sport Oracle 7 Gibson, Colin Braun and John Bennett. The number 6, as I had mentioned before, was the Acura ARX-05 for Team Penske. BMW Team RLL claimed their second straight GT11 class win for Alexander Sims and Conor Di Filippi. The Porsche of Earl Bamber and Lawrence Vantho was second, and the title winners, well, the penciled-in title winners at this point, for the number 3 Corvette, Oliver Gavin and Jan Magnussen finished the GTLM podium. And rounding out the GTD class podium was the number 73 Park Place Motorsports Porsche 911 GT3R of Patrick Lindsay and Jörg Bergmeister. Their brilliant pit gamble almost paying off with a win. But the brilliant mind of Mike Johnson being put to good use there. Yeah. There was no way that wasn't going to work out with him on their pit box. And rounding out the podium in third was the number 33 Mercedes AMG Team Riley Motorsports. AMG GT3 of Ben Keating and Jerome Bleakmollen. So as a result of all these changes and comings and goings here, we have shakeups in the point standings heading into the season finale of the IMSA WeatherTech season.
Mobile 1 Petit Le Mans?
No, that would be the Motul Petit Le Mans.
Oh, Motul Petit Le Mans. Right.
Wrong oil.
Wrong oil, but at least I got the first letter right.
I mean, first letter was right. Wrong oil, wrong track. Yeah.
I said Petit Le Mans.
Well, I know, but Mobile 1 sponsors Sebring.
Well, they do now, because it used to be fresh from Florida.
No, they've always sponsored Sebring for the past like 10 years. No, for actually more than like past 15 years or so.
Bloody hell! Wow. Say
Yeah.
hashtag swipe right for Rodney Sandstorm.
Well, he'll need that for companionship, considering he's very, very disappointed by his race.
Then again, Fonzie was probably watching on TV.
I think he might have been there at the track, but
Oh yes,
because I don't
Fonzie's
think those two go anywhere without each other.
Fonzie's owner, or whatever order it is. I think
Yeah.
Fonzie owns him.
Yeah, getting back past
Yes.
that. The heartbreak of the race really definitely it has to go to Mazda. I mean, what do they have to do to win? Honestly, they have the worst luck at one track where it's purposely built that they could win there because this is the best shot they have all season of winning a race, and through no fault of their own, it just slips away from their fingers. It slips through their fingers. Harry Ticknell. I mean, he's a fast driver, but there's no reason why he should have thrown away the win so easily.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
They ended their day fourth with Jonathan Bomarino and Harry Ticknell. So, it was almost a podium redemption for them. Just they ran out of time to catch JPM. However, the point leaders were very fortunate in the fact they finished fifth, and that would be the number 31 Action Express Cadillac for Felipe Nasr and Eric Curran. The title contenders in GTD were also in the same position. That's the title contending car, or the title leading car in prototypes, were in the fact that the 48 Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini finished just off the podium in fourth. So that got points back in favor of Catherine Legg. And as a result, they now sit only 6 points ahead of Catherine Legg heading into Petit Le Mans. And what a story it would be if she could manage to bring it home.
Oh, absolutely. That would be awesome.
Well, considering she wasn't even in full season. Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Not only was it not a full season car, she's been driving by herself because Alvaro Parent hasn't been her teammate. She's been rotating teammates with Alvaro Parent and Super Mario Farnbacher. So yeah, whatever that was.
Me attempting to do Super Mario.
Very poorly. You should not do that again.
I'll try not to do that again. I promise.
Yeah.
No guarantees.
Try your best. I know. For you, there's no guarantee whatsoever.
Has there ever been a guarantee? No.
Not what comes to you. No. Yeah.
Has there ever been a guarantee I'll be able to survive something involving doors? No.
You'll win that battle eventually. I don't have much faith you will, but you will eventually. Well, as Rob sobs silently to himself, we move into the point standings, as I was mentioning, which sees Brian Sellers and Madison Snow leading the GTD points over Catherine Legg by 6. Ben Keating and Jerome Bleekmullen are on 276 points, so they're in with an outside shot of the title, but it's really a 2-horse race. Well, 3-horse race, I should say, because there's only 3 drivers eligible to win the title. Really, with a realistic shot. These championship points have to be wrong because somehow Cooper McNeil sits 4th.
Well, then again, he has had quite a lot of co-drivers.
Yeah, well, as I say, he somehow sits 4th. He's very lucky to sit 4th because that car does not have that pace, really. But
well,
yeah,
especially with him driving. You know, I managed to get the times from free practice for this year's Rolex 24 at Daytona up.
Oh God, here we go.
Lamborghini Huracan GT3 on Project Cars 2. I managed to, on a stock setup, I managed to get within a 10th or so of Cooper McNeil's best time.
Not sure if that's an
practice
actual
session.
time or if that's reality just breaking, but yeah.
Well, either way, I'm going to take that.
So you're saying you're going to be applying for a lead weight driver? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I might be applying to try and apply for a drive next year. Ask the no, I won't actually try for a drive because I'm not fit enough and I can't actually get out of a race car in 6 seconds like you have to.
Yeah, that might be your. I like how you're so confident that that will be your undoing. Not everything else. Just you being able to extricate yourself in 6 seconds. That's your undoing of having a drive. Yeah.
Yes, because I
not having any money isn't the sticking point in your mind. I mean, good for you on that point, but.
I mean, I've tried climbing in and out of race cars at Autosport International. Trust me, that stuff does not end well for me because I'm.
Wait, you managed to actually go to Autosport International?
No, this was last year when I tried climbing
that's right. Okay.
Praga R1 and central seating position. Couldn't take the steering wheel out to get in. I don't think we were allowed to. I may have said the words "what can possibly
other people
go wrong."
were allowed, but not you. They saw you coming from a mile away.
Oh no, I don't think they had the steering wheel removed all day, and I may have said the words "what can possibly go wrong" before trying to fold myself into the car. So,
and that's exactly why they had the steering wheel in place.
Yeah, 2 bruised hips and a cramp later. Just about got myself in.
And then that's when he realized he wasn't cut out for being a driver. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it was really quite comfortable in there. Driving position was absolutely excellent, and well, I do find racing seats quite comfortable anyway because I've nearly got the correct build. It's just actually getting in and out of the cars that's the slightly major issue because I can't actually do it quick enough because I simply don't have the upper body strength to be able to really lift myself out quickly.
Whatever you say, Rob.
Whatever you say.
Whatever you say. If that's what you choose to believe, then okay. That's the only sticking point in your mind, then go for it. Yeah. Paul Miller Racing holds the lead in the GTD team standings over Meyer Shank with 303 points to 297. And the number 33 Riley Motorsports car is back on 276. In the GTD manufacturer standings, it is Lamborghini with 310 points over Acura with 298. And Lexus is in third with 282. So realistically, Acura and the numbers 86 crew of Catherine Legg and Alvaro Prent and whoever else they bring in to be the third driver there, their realistic shot at the title is that they have to win it. They have to win the race at Petit in order to steal the title away from the number 48 guys, because simply podiuming isn't enough, because somehow I seem to already think the number 48 is going to be on the podium, because they've only not been on the podium, I think, three times this season, counting the good
they've never finished below 6th.
Yeah, so it's going to be a bit hard to beat them just on points alone. They're going to have to win, pull out all the stops just to even be in a decent run. I mean, not that they aren't already within a decent shot, but their only realistic hope is winning the race and hoping that the 48 falls off the podium, thanks to the way that IMSA pays out its points, because there's not that many points on offer, really. So, yeah, which is interesting, but we shall see what happens. I hope she can do it, because that would be a great story.
Absolutely.
But getting to GTLM points, we have, like I mentioned, the pretty much decided title for GTLM with Garcia and Magnussen. At the top, Richard Westbrook and Ryan Briscoe are 9 points behind. The other Ford pairing of Dirk Mueller and Joey Hand is on 284 points, so they're 15 points behind. they don't have a shot at the title either. So, yeah, it's more preservation of how they can end the season, really, for them. Corvette, the number 3 Corvette team is leading the team standings. The 67 is second for Ford Chip Ganassi Racing, with their sister 66 car in third. And Ford holds a 323-point lead in the GTLM manufacturer standings over Chevrolet with 313 points. And Porsche has 306 points, so they're not even in with a shot of the manufacturer's crown there. And of course, we get to the prototypes, which sees Eric Curran and Felipe Nasr lead on 254 points. Colin Braun and Jonathan Bennett are 4 points behind them. In the most unlikeliest of scenarios, we have a Cadillac DPI going against an Orica spec P2 car for the title. Who had raised your hand if anyone had that happening coming into Petit Le Mans? Because I certainly did not.
I didn't.
Yeah, I don't think anyone did. Well, and even if they did have that scenario happening, I can almost guarantee you they didn't have the core car being the one that would upset the apple cart. It would have all anyone's smart money would have been on the banana boat or the Red Dragon, but turns out Colin Braun and Jonathan Bennett. So yeah.
Yes, and Colin Braun is. Someone needs to give him a test in a P1 car.
Well, he's getting sniffs around the IndyCar paddock, so he might see an IndyCar driver. Future IndyCar star Colin Braun.
Yeah.
Is in the cards there. So the point title is between a DPI and an LMP2 car. So yeah, because in third we have Jordan Taylor and Renger van de Zande on 235 points. They're out of it. Dane Cameron and Juan Paulo Montoya is on 233 points. Misha Goikberg and Steven Simpson, and the second best WEC LMP2 cars is in fifth. And coming into the weekend was the number 5. Coming into the weekend with the second place team in points was the number 5 Action Express Cadillac DPI VR for Felipe Albuquerque. And actually, no, just Felipe Albuquerque, because his usual co-driver Joao Barbosa sat out Road America. So
yeah, because of his wrist injury, I think.
Yeah, he sat out. Well, he sat out Road America and Watkins Glen. Actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that put him on a joint. Well, not even a joint second. It was just by himself. But he moved from second all the way back to 6th. Due to not scoring any points whatsoever. So, it's a topsy-turvy season. I don't know what to say, really. Between IMSA and IndyCar, just what are points predictions, really? No one's gonna get any of them right. But that's how that point title is shaping up for the driver standings. In the team standings, we have the 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac on top, with the Core Autosport Orca second, and of course the number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac in third. Cadillac has a 297-point lead in the manufacturer standings and prototypes. Second is Acura with 286. Third is Nissan with 274, and poor old Mazda's all the way dead last with 268 points. So Nissan and Mazda have no chance. Acura needs a Hail Mary to even challenge for the manufacturer's title at Petite. Which is funny when you think about it, because it's the complete opposite when it comes to GTD. So, yeah. But those are the points ramifications and things shaking out in IMSA heading into the season finale in 3 to 4 weeks' time. And finishing that, we will stick with IMSA because, well, all the news concerning IMSA is broken over the weekend, really.
Yes. There's already been a driver announcement for next year already. And a pretty big one as well.
Well, I think you'll find there was 2 drivers announced in that announcement, but okay.
Ah, right. I see. I think the biggest one was Durrani to Action Express, which is going to be pretty epic. Him alongside Felipe Nasser, who's also incredibly quick himself. So yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting to see how that works out. And also, Eric Curran is going to be doing the Endurance Cup for them.
Yeah, Eric Curran is being moved along to the Michelin role for the number 31 Wheeling Engineering Cadillac, but that means that there is an open driver's seat. So as Rob says, Pipo Derani moves up to Action Express to be what is almost certainly going to be a title contending role next season. And of course, we have the same driver pairing remaining for the number 5 Mustang Sampling Cadillac, which is Joao Barbosa and Felipe Albuquerque, staying as a full-time season, or the full season drivers there, with Christian Fittipaldi running in the number 5 for the Rolex 24, which will be his final ever race as a driver. So that'll be something interesting to watch. But also of interesting note, thanks to Pipo Derani joining there, Action Express is going to become a little Portugal, really, as they'll all be speaking Portuguese, I think, under that tent.
Yes, I think a number of fans are going to be writing, taking a list of Portuguese swear words.
I think the mechanics and Gary Nelson are going to have to be learning some Portuguese come next season.
Learning just swear words should do it.
I think they might need to learn a bit more than that, but okay. That was news coming out of that. Actually, no, coming before the weekend, because this was announced on the Thursday of Laguna Seca. The driver announcement for 2019. However, there was a very scary accident the weekend at Laguna, and it's just can we not have scary looking accidents for a while? Because there's just been too many of them recently.
It's been like since mid-July. There's been at least one every weekend. It's ridiculous.
It's pretty ridiculous at this point, guys. Can we not have serious accidents just, for the rest of the season? Can we just have something that isn't a bit scary? And of course, if those that don't know which one I'm referencing, it is the accident that happened for Sheena Monk in the first Lamborghini Super Trofeo race of the weekend, in which it appeared her brakes had failed going into the corkscrew. So she went straight on into the tire barriers, which ended up flipping the car and landing back on its wheels. However, Lamborghini released a statement saying, and I quote, upon initial analysis of the car's data following the accident, all of the operating systems were found to be functioning appropriately, as did the car's safety systems during and after impact. All of us at Lamborghini are thankful for the safety of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo race cars. From that statement released by Lamborghini, we can tell that they say that things were fine. So driver error must have happened there for that accident. But I don't know. Very scary regardless. Oddly enough, she walked away perfectly okay from the hospital. She was released on Thursday last week, and or not last week, but well, actually, yeah. Well, she was released recently. I'll say that. I got the day wrong. She was released fairly recently from the hospital which she was at, and was prepped to go drive back home to Southern California to begin her recovery, because her statement that she released prior to this this update that was given, it says that she had yet to review what had happened with her accident yesterday, whether it's Laguna Seca, but she's extremely grateful for the safety and strength of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. She'd like to thank her family, her coach, Catherine Legg, the team at Wayne Taylor Racing, IMSA, the track marshals, safety crew, the medevac unit, and the amazing staff at Valley Medical Center for assisting me in such tremendous fashion. I'd also like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the racing fans who expressed concern for my well-being, as well as positivity for a speedy recovery. So that was her statement before she was released from the hospital, but it's looking like she's going to be okay to drive in 2 months' time because Wayne Taylor Racing is looking at a replacement car for her to run at the Super Trofeo World Finals at Vallelunga in November. So, yeah. It's an amazing story all the way around that she walked out of that somehow unscathed, pretty much, for the most part. That's the case, because that was a very, very scary accident. And hopefully one that does not get repeated. So yeah, no one go off with the corkscrew because it's very bad news if you do. More IMSA news that had emerged actually as the race was happening was that 3GT might be looking set to either be joining or having someone join them in the Lexus Racing fold, or actually lose their program altogether for next season. As Vassar Sullivan Racing is looking to be added to Lexus's fold, which could see them become the partner team in IMSA next season. And as part of that operation, the Vassar Sullivan team would be responsible for having a primary role in supplying the majority of the funding for that. But that shouldn't be an issue considering, one of the co-owners in that team is James Sullivan, or Sully as they call him. And, he's the reason why we get to see Sealmaster Bourdais in IndyCar. So, yeah. His forte is bringing sponsorship to things, so that shouldn't be a bit of an issue. And we'll get to see Jimmy Vassar come back to IMSA. So, yeah, hopefully that, fingers crossed, that works out for those guys. Flying Lizard Motorsports and Compass Racing are also looking at potential IMSA Sprint Cup programs for next season. As well as apparently McLaren trying to seat 2 brand new 720S GT3s in the Sprint Cup in 2019. And if this were to happen, IMSA says they would welcome in new manufacturers on a reduced marketing commitment that they say, quote unquote, is a first step in, or something along those lines. So I must admit I never had McLaren coming to IMSA, but apparently the Sprint Cup got them looking seriously at it. So who knows? And of course, staying on the Sprint Cup thread here, there was the new team that was just announced with 2 Porsche 911 GT3Rs, and that was the More Speed effort that runs in GT3 Cup Challenge, I think. Yes, More Speed are the ones who run in the Porsche GT3 Cup USA support category. So they're moving up. So more teams coming into the IMSA fold is a good thing. So it seems that the Sprint Cup idea that kind of seemed a bit iffy coming in seems to be paying off already. So we shall see. But yeah, that's how that news is shaping up for IMSA. Brand new news on that front. But sadly, we must go to some very unfortunate news that happened just yesterday, actually, concerning IMSA. And that would be the sad passing of Dr. Don Panoz, who was pretty much the sole reason why sports car racing was resurrected in the 2000s, really. And thanks to him, we have the very, very wonderful American Le Mans series in the shape of the... Actually, not even the American Le Mans series. The European Le Mans series, the Le Mans series prior to that, and of course the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup are all thanks to him and the genius he showed in forming ACO rules sports car racing could have a foothold in modern sports cars. So anything to add on that front, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, as well as that, you know, the Panoz sports cars as well did have a decent amount of success, especially in the early days of the American Le Mans series. The front-engined prototypes going toe-to-toe with the, well, what was at that point the more conventional, shall we say, mid-engine designs used by Audi, by Cadillac, among others. And even when they stopped that to run the GT program with the Panoz Esperanti, it got a class win in the GT2 class at Le Mans with Team LNT, with the now Bossa Janetta Lawrence Tomlinson among the driving talent in that car. And like for you and I, Forza, like that, this was a part. The American Le Mans series was in a way part of our, well, when we were growing up.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
As well with motorsport. Back in those days, we didn't have a World Endurance Championship as such because, well, frankly, we didn't actually need a World Endurance Championship because that was the American Le Mans series. If you wanted to race on some of the most testing circuits in the world against some of the best drivers in the sport, you raced in the American Le Mans series. It was as simple as that.
Yes. It was the American Le Mans series and nothing, pretty much. We wanted sports cars, and his genius, like I mentioned, was the reason why what is now known as the European Le Mans series even got a foothold as an established series, as it was then. It was the Le Mans and the LMS, which allowed sports car racing under the ACO's rules per se to gain traction. And of course, this was a man who made his fortune, as we can see on the slides here, the really lovely, the diversified car portfolio we have from Don Panoz. But he made his fortune from the, of all things, the nicotine patch. So, yeah, that in a way is almost perfect to just sum up the non-conventional life of Don Panoz.
I've got another example of that. Sparky.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah, that's true.
The first hybrid car, I believe, to race in sports car racing, 1998, the Q9 hybrid, which was a good, let's see, decade and a half, maybe. Actually, a little bit sooner than that. About 2012, yeah, 14 years at least.
Before any hybrid.
Before the first R18 e-tron Quattro, and although
well, actually, not even then. The very first actual hybrid,
yeah,
in LMP1 would have been the.
It would have been one of the been like a privateer.
Would have been a privateer Zytek in ALMS with Gunnar Jeanette and Stefan Johansson at the wheel, I believe. That made its debut at the Utah Motorsport Park. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was in 2009. Yeah.
Yes, that would have been a good 11 years after Sparky.
So, he came up with the idea of a hybrid prototype car before that, and then It was
Oh,
run with
GT1
privateers again.
technically.
So, well,
But then again, the
Arguable,
GT1
yeah.
cars of that era, let's face it, were more Le Mans prototypes that just looked a little bit like road cars and had enough provision for a tax disc and a couple of license plates, and well, if you took half the fuel tank out, enough room for a loaf of bread and a pint of milk.
yes.
And maybe the morning newspaper, if you were lucky.
Oh, that's a bit of a stretch, I think.
Yeah, you just stick the newspaper on the passenger seat. There you go. Just claim that as boot space. Surprised no one did, actually.
The very really awesomely just amazing front-engined prototypes that were just simply ahead of their time, really. And no one else was crazy enough to do it, but
Until Ben Bowlby tried doing it for Nissan, and
well,
the less said about that, the better.
Let's not mention that because that's not a good thing.
Yes, that's why I said the less said about that, the better.
Yeah, the front-engined prototypes in the form of the Esperanti LMP1S, which will forever be known as the Spirit of America for us ALMS fans when they won at Washington, D.C. with the very lovely Star-Spangled car there with Jan Magnussen and
David Brabham.
David Brabham, of all people, yeah.
Oh, wow. I've just found a photo of the 1997 car at what I think is Laguna Seca as well.
Yep.
And
the white and red and blue, yeah.
Yep, the driving lineup of Andy Wallace and Doc Bundy.
This also was the team who gave Jan Magnussen his start in ALMS and after his failed F1 career. And he's been here ever since, really. So, yeah. He was also the man who gave Mario Andretti his final sports car start in 2000 at the wheel of one of his... at Le Mans, yeah. Of all places, at Le Mans, when Mario Andretti was about 50-something years old, yeah.
I was going to say, actually, I would have thought near 60, because he was in his mid-50s, I think, when he retired from IndyCar.
Yeah, well, he was thereabouts, really. He gave his last ever sports car drive at Le Mans in one of his roadsters in the year 2000.
Yeah, he would have been 60.
Oh, there you go then. Yeah. Would have been one of the oldest people to ever drive at Le Mans at that point. But yeah, he gave Mario the final outing. He was of course the brainchild behind the multiple open wheel cars. He's won I think he won 4 Indy 500s. Actually, no, he won the 1997, 2000, 2003, and 2004 Indy 500s with many drivers. Of all drivers, he won the Indy 500 with Arie Luyendyk. How's this for a driver lineup of Indy 500 winners? Arie Luyendyk, Juan Pablo Montoya, Gilles de Ferran, and Buddy Rice.
Wow.
They were all driving G-Force Panoz and won Indy 500s with him. They were powered by Oldsmobiles, Toyotas, and Hondas. Of course, we had the very lovely Panoz DP01 that stuff is showing on the screen there.
Very, very nice looking car.
Very nice.
A very nice car that was ahead of its time and should have been an IndyCar over the crap buckets that were in the IRL and the but that's another story entirely.
I was going to say that's putting it mildly, mate.
I'm being very diplomatic when I say that because the modern car at the time in IndyCar was very not good.
The
looking.
list of I was going to say I found the list of people who took part in the last ever champ car race in the DP01. Oh, there are some names here. From ones which we're going to which are recognisable, like Jimmy Vasser, Will Power, Oriol Servia, Paul Tracy, Mario Dominguez, and the only driver to qualify an Andrea Moda Formula One car, Roberto Moreno.
Right. Okay.
Wow.
Well, let's not forget. the most accomplished thing by the DP01 was the fact that it broke Laguna Seca's track record. And it not only took it from any other like normal road car or any other abnormal like race car or whatever, it took the record off of an F1 car.
Driven by Toyota's crack F1 test driver Ricardo Zonta.
Yes, with very sticky Michelins and factory team on site to set that lap time. It beat it by a second.
Although then again, I think the reason why is because, well, he is a bit good, Bourdais is.
Well, this was Sebastian Bourdais at his peak, really, driving the number one McDonald's car for what was then Newman Haas Racing. So yet another name that was thanks to Don Panoz and his visionary team there. So we have him to thank for lots of things. Sports cars racing, single-handedly saving it with Sebring by owning Sebring, owning Road Atlanta, owning most sports, keeping it alive. Bringing along Audi, Porsche, Corvette, BMW, and their V12 LMRs. Their the beautiful 2008 season with the Acura LMP2s and the
Porsche RS
Spiders from Penske battling Audi diesel LMP1 cars for overall wins. Dyson Racing and their tiny little Mazda Turbo beating up on Audis.
The Muscle Milk.
The
Aston
Muscle Milk,
Martin
Pickett,
Lola.
Aston Martins, and the HPDs.
Probably the best sounding car in the history of the American Le Mans series.
We have many, many nice memories of thanks to Dr. Don, and of course we haven't even touched on the genius that was the Delta Wing either.
What a car that was!
What a car, and also as well as.
And when I say Delta Wing, I mean the actual Delta Wing, not the one that it became. The actual genius that was a Delta Wing. That started out actually as a proposal for an IndyCar.
And designed by Ben Bowlby.
Designed by Ben Bowlby. It was supposed to be an IndyCar, but that didn't work. So they said, you know what, let's go take the sports car racing. When none other than Chip Ganassi gets behind your idea, and the wonderful, just amazing Dan Gurney takes it and runs with it and makes your car, it's something that's really special.
Yeah.
But that was an amazing piece of kit, and the Nissan Delta Wing is something that's probably one of the last true cars that actually was just a run which you've brung special for anything, really.
What the heck is this?
Just a car that was kind of went, yeah, we're gonna build this and we're gonna run it, and you should take us seriously because it's got some serious brain power behind it and money and
then there's also Elan Motorsports Technologies, who built, amongst other things, the Super League Formula car, the old Mazda.
Well, the less that's said about Super League Formula, I think, is the better, really.
Although it did have a very nice sounding V12.
Yes, it was also a very pointless series.
Yes. Come on, you Spurs. Yeah, there was also the DP08 that raced in the USF 2000 competition, I believe was the spec car.
Ah, yes, for the very long-serving spec car there.
And there was the DP02, which up until the start of this season was still racing, and I believe still does race in IMSA prototype lights. You got the NASA prototype 01 as well.
Oh, let's not mention that thing. That thing's...
But then again, those older Mazda powered DP02s were pretty serious bits of kit.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, he did a lot of straightforward and revolutionary thinking. He was someone who didn't play by conventional rules, and that served him well when it worked out. It didn't work when it didn't work. It really didn't work. like his latest proposals for the Delta Wing road car and what was it called? The Abruzzi. It never worked.
The green electric
The green
powered.
GT thing, or whatever. What was it called? Green GT? I don't remember. What
Possibly, I can't remember.
that didn't work, but yeah, he was a man that made his own path and forged it, and we are actually a bit poorer for his loss. Actually, he will be missed. That's for sure. Petit Le Mans is going to be pretty sad, I think, without Dr. Down there noticing or watching as he usually does. So, of course, we're actually forgetting the Avezzano GT4 that's dominating, really. So,
And has, I believe, won the GTS class in World Challenge.
GTS X class, or Sprint X class, and then GTS class as well. So, yeah, he went out on top in some ways, and we'll be forever worse off without him. So, yeah, he will be missed for sure. But news. Let's go to Soy. And that would be the fact that the news that refused to be broke week when it should have, when we said it was going to happen, and everyone was reporting that it would happen, didn't happen, but has now happened. If you follow my, this would be the worst kept secret in the F1 paddock, and that would be Charles Leclerc finally becoming Leclerc. Yes, Desire Leclerc. Finally becoming a Scuderia Ferrari driver. Finally confirmed this week.
Yes, just waking up going, oh, why has Twitter gone absolutely even more batshit insane compared to normal? Oh, yeah. Oh, Leclerc's gone to Ferrari. Yes, Kimi Raikkonen, though, will still be racing in F1. It's just he actually... it sounds unbelievable, considering at the start of the season he didn't actually have any form of social media account. He actually confirmed he was moving to Sauber on Instagram before Sauber had actually put the press release out.
I can quite confidently say, I think I told you this would be the scenario, Pigeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm quite pleased that I was right for once. Of all the prediction I made, I go, oh, that'll happen. That'll happen. He's going there. Oh, he's going there. No, none of that panned out. But the one thing I got right was Kimi Raikkonen going to Sauber. The one thing I didn't have nailed down was the fact that it would be a 2-year deal. So yeah, I'm quite upset about that one. Otherwise, I would have the trifecta.
Yes, although the latest rumours surrounding Sauber this week allegedly is that Antonio Giovinazzi might be driving for them.
Well, I suspect if Ferrari threw enough money at the team, they'd go, can we... Ericsson and I mean, I for one wouldn't be against that because he needs a seat at this point. Because he's too good to be a reserve driver doing nothing, standing at the back of the garage twiddling his thumbs. Yeah.
Twiddling his thumbs, scrolling through Twitter, updating Instagram, and
posting pictures of whatever he's doing at the back of the garage. Yeah.
Yes. Looking at the arse end of an F1 car that's being put back together because it's been crashed or the engine's blown up. Or just looking at the vast empty nothingness of the back end of a pit garage.
Yeah. If not, make him a GT driver. Pay him, Ferrari. Come on, do something.
Well, he's getting some nice little bit of practice for next season in F1 by racing at Petit Le Mans in a few weeks' time for ESM.
You should be very proud of yourself. That's the 3rd week in a row you've managed to mention he's going to be racing for ESM, so well done for you.
Yes. Got to keep the news flow going, you know.
I don't know why you think it's very important to mention the same news article 3 times, but okay.
I mean, it's good to get a little bit of racing in when you can, as a you're not racing that weekend, every chance to get behind the wheel. If you're a racing driver, you take those opportunities. Good on him.
Okay, then. Whatever you say.
Sure.
Whatever you say, Rob. Whatever you say.
There's a reason why I prefer the production stuff, to be honest.
Oh, well, I don't know what you mean. Whatever do you mean, Rob?
Well, I mean, at least I'm not actually connected to a microphone. Well, I mean, at least I'm not connected to a microphone.
Well, that's true. Ah, dearie me. There was some other open wheel news that comes from the North American shores. That would be IndyCar, of course. For those of you who might be a bit concerned. But what I was going to say, and that would concern Takuma Sato remaining at the IndyCar. That is the number 30 for Ray Holland and Lanigan for next season. So no worries on that front. They're working on keeping him, as well as making a third car possible for next season. So
there
all
is
good news for them there.
Phone up Honda.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's a bit of a worry to look for the cash. I think it's just more of signing on the dotted line.
Yeah.
Right. Would this also be the case for a certain Swedish driver who may or may not have already done so?
He's already done so, Rob. There isn't a may or may not. He's done so. This is not a.
We're just waiting for it to be confirmed.
This is literally just all of us going, oh, we literally saw this coming. We're just waiting for you to release the press release. But this being Chip Ganassi, he's probably waiting very wisely because he's already had this happen to him once with Brendan Hartley. He's not going to let it happen to him again. When everyone was like, yeah, this is done and dusted. Brendan Hartley's coming to IndyCar for the number 10. Oh, he's gone to F1.
He's gone to Toro. Dear.
He's gone.
Dear me,
F1.
he's driving.
With immediate effect. Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. He's driving something with what is the least reliable engine in the. Dear me. Ugh.
Not exactly true, but yeah.
Yeah. It's I think Chip might be waiting.
He's waiting on everyone else signing and dotting their I's across their T's and going, "You're not going anywhere else. I have you." Before he releases a statement saying he's coming.
Unless they do a news conference.
Well, that's what he's
this
waiting
weekend.
Well, that could be it as well. You never know.
Because it's the final round of the season. Although it'd probably be best to do that on the Saturday or first thing on the Sunday.
If we see Felix Rosenqvist in the paddock, I think it's safe to say they're going to announce that he's there at Sonoma.
Confirmed.
If he's not there this weekend, then they're going to wait for some other day to do the news conference when everyone's paying attention, I guess. I don't know. If he's not there this weekend, they're not announcing it this weekend. But if he's there this weekend, it's being announced. That's how that's going to work out.
Awesome.
But he is an IndyCar driver next season. I'm confident of it. So is everyone else. It just needs to be announced at this point. It's very much in the same term that the Raikkonen and Leclerc switch would have been. So, yeah. Everyone kind of knew it was there. It just wasn't announced. And everyone was getting impatient for it to be announced. So, that's where that lands and stays. However, this is a bit of news that you probably didn't see coming, Rob. It also somehow involves Bobby Rahal.
Oh, I think I've read this. Is it to do with a former Indy Racing League driver turned NASCAR Sprint Cup driver turned NASCAR Sprint Cup champion?
Turned NASCAR Sprint Cup owner.
Yes. Turned NASCAR Sprint Cup retired, but with quite a lot of money.
For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about,
it's Tony Stewart.
Yes. The rumor that was started because Tony Stewart doing as he does, opening his mouth for whatever reason, saying, "Oh yeah, I'd love to run Indy in 2019." Then promptly found he was quite popular with Roger Penske going, "We have an open invitation for you." Michael Andretti then going, "We're pretty interested in running you.
Take your pick."
Take your pick." However, he wasn't. This was the funny bit of this whole thing, because this all came out under the rain delay for the Brickyard 400 this past weekend.
Monday.
Well, on Monday.
Well, literally 2 days ago.
2 days ago, yeah. Technically the weekend, but we'll move past that. From an interview with someone on NBC, and he said, "Oh yeah, Michael Andretti and Roger Penske were talking to me. However, I was not expecting an offer from Bobby Rahal and David Letterman to be in my email inbox, since I never checked my email. I haven't replied to him yet." So we're just going like, "Oh gosh." So yeah, an offer existed and still exists, because he probably still hasn't replied to it yet. Over on IndyCar ride, or 2019 Indy 500 ride with Rahal and Lanigan. But he's since said he's not going to drive in 2019 because he doesn't want to just show up and be filling in the numbers there. He would need a race on an oval next season if he was going to do 2020. So that actually is probably a better prospect if we can somehow make him lose his fat. So we can get him in a car.
Liquid soap and a shoehorn, mate. There you go.
If Juan Pablo Montoya can become less rotund to drive an IndyCar, Tony Stewart can as well. Okay.
And let's face it, by the time we finished NASCAR, Montoya was slightly larger, more generously proportioned, shall we say, than he was in his Formula One days.
Well, that's because he ate too many Big Macs and cheeseburgers, so yeah. Yes.
Gotta get that protein in somehow.
Doesn't help when he's sponsored by McDonald's, I don't think.
What a lifetime supply of Big Macs.
Discounts of Big Macs and whatnot.
Not bad. There are worse people.
Tony Stewart needs to slim down a bit so he can fit in an IndyCar. And
what, 30, 40 pounds?
I'd say that's being a bit generous.
Let's see. So what's that? 30? So
he's a bit generous. And that's also not the least bit of his concern. I think he also needs to work on his neck muscles.
Yeah. I was going to say, £30. I've just looked that up in kilograms. That's 13.6 kilograms. Okay, yeah, that does seem a little bit generous.
I'd say he needs to lose about 80 pounds or so to even be in the ballpark.
Okay, so that's 36 kilograms, or come to think of it, that's more than half my weight.
Yeah.
You're skinny, so...
Probably not the best comparison, but he needs to lose a substantial bit of weight to even get in an IndyCar. That's not even looking at the fact he needs to gain some muscle mass to even control a car without power steering. But then again, he is doing sprint cars, so he might be okay on that front. But yeah, I don't know if he could do that. That'd be amazing. It's a win-win for everybody, really. But, well, maybe not Tony Stewart. It's a win for the fans, win for IndyCar. If Rahal can snag him to be in the car, it's a win for them. Yeah, we'll see, really. But yeah, that's the news roundup for IndyCar. And that nicely segues into the fact that sees the finale for the Verizon IndyCar series in more ways than one, because it's the final race of Verizon being the title sponsor of the IndyCar series, and it's the season finale. So, well, actually, no, I said that wrong. It's the season finale for the IndyCar series. It's Verizon's final race as a title sponsor, and it's Sonoma's last IndyCar race ever. So there we go. Fixed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I fixed it. Yay, me. There's 25 cars entered for this weekend's race, which is not actually an addition, really, over the normal one. The only new addition was, of course, announced last week. Stuff, as I said to you before, that being the number 8 for Patricio Award, and the second Harding Racing Chevy, to go alongside his Andretti Autosports Mazda Road to Indy teammate in the form of Colton Herta. So the Harding guys have doubled up for this weekend, and will probably be not run by the Harding guys, but the Andretti Autosport guys and a Skunk Work operation, which will probably next season turn into the McLaren Andretti Harding Racing Autosport thing, whatever you want to call it, entity for next season. So if we see Andretti cars or Andretti guys skulking around the Harding pits, we know what's happening there for next season with the Harding guys. So that's a peak for that one. Of course, we have everybody's favorites driver, Santino Ferrucci, coming back for his final race with Dale Coyne.
No.
Had to sneak that one under the door there.
Yes, otherwise I would have slammed the door very firmly shut, bolted it multiple times, and promptly forget how to get out of the door again.
Yes, but besides the 39 for Ferrucci and the number 8 of Award, those two are the only additions to the normal entrance that we defined.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to say beyond my ineptitude at opening doors.
Well, that's already known and given.
Yeah.
But past that, we know the title contentions pretty much already, is the fact that Scott Dixon leads by 29 points, much to Pigeon's chagrin over his boy Alexander Rossi, who I think Pigeon is cheering for the title.
Dixon for the win.
We have those two, the only ones in contention, because the two Team Penske drivers of Joseph Newgarden, the defending champion, and Will Power, are out, definitely, without a shot, because they're all 83 points back. They're not
50 for the win, I think.
Yeah, it's 100 because it's double points, but they're not in with a shot at all. So it's between Alexander Rossi and Scott Dixon. It's an all Honda affair for the title. Honda has won the manufacturer's title. It's Ganassi versus Andretti. It's where it should be, really.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, on Sonoma's final race ever with IndyCars on it, with the new aero package, we'll get a good race for the title. So yeah, we will see what happens there. Very much looking forward to it. So that will be interesting. Of course, for you guys in Europe, it'll be a late start because it's on noon or 1 o'clock Pacific time. So it's going to be a late night.
Noon Pacific time is...
I can hear Pigeon groaning. Oh, it's not so bad then.
So it's either 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock start in the evening. So IndyCar race is generally
2 hours.
2.5 hours.
2 hours, yeah. It's roughly the same as an F1 race.
Only
quicker than an F1 race, yeah.
Well, no, an F1
well, I say that it's going to probably be 3 hours, yeah.
Well, an F1 race is usually 3, 4, 5 hours. Just depends how long you actually fall asleep for.
Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah. I take that back. It's starting at 3:30 Pacific. So,
God!
You're in for a long night.
I can't stay up for that.
Unfortunately, the NASCAR race from Vegas is on before that. So yeah, that's why.
Thanks NASCAR. Thanks for just thinking about yourself as usual, screwing up us.
Well, it doesn't help that they're in Vegas this weekend, so they're both on the same time schedule. So yeah. Yeah, sorry. So anyone who's going to watch the finale or follow the weekend, you're in for a very, very late night.
I think that's what 11:30 UK time start, half past
11.
midnight Central European time.
It'd be
Just
like
get a
2
coffee.
a.m.
It'll finish at 2 a.m. You'll be fine.
Yeah, but I need to get up at 6.
Oh, you'll be
Pigeon,
fine. Come on, sacrifice
there's a thing
some of
called
your sleep.
coffee. There's a thing called coffee. It exists for a reason, to make you wake the fuck up first thing in the morning. Trust me, it works a treat when you've just got the 4:54 from Basingstoke to London.
Something tells me it'll be worth it, Pigeon.
Every
for
little
your
thing.
momentary bit of suffering. So I don't know. Something just tells me, just viewing the madness that happened at Portland, I don't think you want to miss the finale for the championship. So
and you might get the chance to witness your boy Rossi win his first ever title.
Yeah,
make it up. Make staying up till bugger off o'clock in the morning, or in my case, a normal weekday, perfectly worthwhile.
Bugger off o'clock in the morning. Okay.
Yes, because I do usually go to bed at about 2 in the morning.
Oh well, yeah, that's why you have that perspective.
That's because you're still a student.
But yeah,
Bob.
I'm still a student, and yeah.
That we'll get to calendars, which is this weekend. We have a busy schedule of, like I said, the IndyCar Grand Prix of Sonoma, the F1 from Singapore. Welcome to Singapore, yeah.
Singapore Sling Cocktail. Lovely jubbly.
Right.
BTCC.
BTCC.
Yes. Which
NASCAR, like I said, from Vegas.
And I might actually be going to the qualifying day, the BTCC as well.
And of course, there's Super GT from Sugo.
Yes, it is. It is actually. Yes, the Super GT from Sugo. It is actually this weekend. I've double checked, and RJ O'Connell's written a very, very good preview on dailysportscar.com regarding it.
Oh, also Blancpain GT Sprint Cup from the Nürburgring, apparently. As I got told by Dylan.
Wait, Blancpain Sprint Cup is still going at this point? Oh, God.
Yeah, there's one more race after the Nürburgring.
Apparently that's happening this weekend as well. So, yes.
World Superbikes from Portugal.
Portimao?
Yes. Does anyone watch that? Yeah.
No.
Only Hindy. Hindy's the only one that watches it.
He may be
Actually,
a bit
that reminds
biased.
me. How well is Jonathan Ray doing?
Oh, God, as he's going to whinge about British people. We're going to end now because you've been on for far too long. So,
well, no, I'm not. I'm just curious to see the championship standings.
Sadly, we don't have any time to mention the World Superbike standings.
Yes, I know. And also, what is the point of the World Superbike Championship? It's a bit dull, to be honest.
And on that note, we will end. So, once again, we had Rob.
Hi.
Our smartest person in our chats.
Goodbye, everyone.
And once again, I'm Forza18, and thank you guys for listening and watching. We'll see you next week.